Work session, and we have, it looks like some exemplars of excellence. We're going to do that now.
It's the Teachers of the Year, so we'll do that.
Okay, so we'll do that. It's a regular meeting. Okay. So we have some delegations, I believe, Mr. King. All right.
So we've got 3 people speaking. I'm going to read our statement at the start. Thank you for your interest in addressing the Hamilton County Board of Education. During your presentation, please address the board as a whole, not individual board members or administrators. Also, please do not present complaints or concerns you have about an individual employee of the school system. If you wish to voice those complaints and concerns, you should contact central office and ask for a meeting with the superintendent, since the superintendent is responsible for individual employees. Please limit your remarks to 5 minutes. I will tell you when there's 1 minute remaining, and we will start. If we could have James Lee. Are you here? James Lee. Yes, sir.
Yep, are we on?
Yes. You can adjust that to your, if you want to raise it up a little,
No,
or,
I just want to make sure we're on.
okay.
Okay. Well, it is a real privilege for me to be able to speak to the folks that decide and direct our children's education. And it's an important night for me because I have 2 grandchildren that are just starting public education in the kindergarten, and I'm going to be concerned about what they're taught in school. I have brought with me a couple of people real quickly. I've got a scientist from the nuclear plant. His name is Carol Waddle back here, and also a lawyer, John Rexford, with me to make sure everything I say is legal. So here we go with this. And what I'm talking about is, should scientific evidence for creation be taught in public schools? It's my opinion as a former science teacher, having studied the evidence for origins for over 50 years, that any theory having scientific merit should be discussed in the classroom based on that merit only, and not as a religious study. Whether or not the theory is associated with a religion is irrelevant. For a theory of origin to be scientific theory, there must be observable evidence that suggests it, or directly or indirectly. When it comes down to it, there are only 2 basic theories of origin. Either a random chance processes, all the highly complex systems that we see on Earth and beyond are created themselves by chance, or as an intelligent designer behind the design and the complexity throughout the universe. Common sense tells you that a one-chance event that happened in the past is not observable in the present. Creation is not still happening. That's called the first law of physics, if there's any science teachers here. No? Well, I'm all alone.
No, I'm here.
I hear we have one.
So it's not observable directly. However, there are many indications of intelligent design in the universe, and therefore there's much indirect evidence for a designer or a creator. Some of these indicators as, of a creator, would be the second law of physics. This is increasing entropy. Some of you know what entropy is. The law of biogenesis, the fossil record in the geologic column, mathematical probability, irreducible complexity in living cells, the genetic code itself, and design in general. And all of these, at the same time, contradict the evolution model. Students deserve to hear these scientific facts, not just partial knowledge that mostly is taught today by science teachers. Likewise, evolution cannot be observed in the present. Supposedly it happens too slowly. There is certainly no evidence in the past fossils, in the fossil record, and no scientist has been able to recreate evolution in the science lab, although many hundreds of attempts have been made. There's no direct evidence for evolution, and indirect evidence seems to be missing as well, except for a few strained and convoluted interpretations of the data, which are constantly changing. And to finish, I want to say this. The general feeling in public education is that evolution is scientific and creation is religious. This belief is epitomized by a statement made by Bill Honig, the former superintendent of public instruction for the state of California. He said this, quote,
1 minute.
evolution is a fact and is also a theory. However, certain fundamental religious groups in our country have been historically opposed to evolution on religious grounds, end quote. Educated creationists today oppose evolution on scientific grounds as well because of the obviousness of the evidence. Once it is made known, that is, once the evidence is made known, evolution cannot be a fact and a theory at the same time. No scientist would have made such a statement. And that is just the problem. Bias only exists where there is a lack of knowledge. And in the name of intellectual and academic freedom, let all knowledge be proclaimed. And if you allow me this one quote, you're to know the truth. The truth will set you free. And I thank you for letting me speak. I'd like to hand out a paper, the speech I just made, and an additional few comments on this subject, and would ask that you would somehow get this to a science teacher. I would love to present a creation workshop myself to the science teachers of Hamilton County. I could do this as a group, or I could do it individually. I've got my phone number on there. They can call my number, and I'll be glad to come and speak to them, like I say, individually or as a group. And I've got references at the bottom here, websites that you can look up. It gives you tons of information on scientific evidence.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Mr. King, could I ask a question? quick?
Yes.
Mr. Lee, are your grandchildren there in Hamilton County schools?
I'm sorry.
Are your grandchildren there in Hamilton County schools?
Well, one of them is at normal school,
Normal part?
normal part.
Yes, sir.
The other one's in Bootle Mark.
Okay, thank you.
Debbie Schugert.
Oh, she will not be here tonight. She did not receive the information she needed to speak tonight,
Okay.
so she'll be here next month.
Melanie Rayborn.
Good evening, folks. My name is Melanie Raybon, not Rayborn. Quick correction. It's okay. I'm a third-year teacher in Hamilton County. I began my career with Teach for America and have chosen to continue here as an educator. I feel very strongly about the value of public education as the daughter of a 29-year veteran educator and the product of public school education myself. So that's a huge part of why I've chosen to stay in the classroom after completing my commitment with Teach for America. I'm also a member of the Hamilton County Education Association. While I, of course, respect and admire the board and administration, I do believe that educators from all levels of the district should have important perspectives that should be elevated, which is why I am a proud HCA member. I'm here today solely to elevate some of those perspectives to you. It's a new year, so time for new perspectives. First, I'd like to talk about vouchers. It's bad enough that the pilot program was expanded here without local support, but the new iteration of this legislation, which allows for universal eligibility, could have extremely damaging long-term impacts on our schools. Imagine a world in which there are no caps on the legislation and each of the 11,000 private school students in this county claims what amounts to a coupon code worth $7,000 without ever setting foot in a public school. What are the results? A $7,000 increase in the cost of private school tuition, local tax increases, probably staff cuts, a near $1 billion budget deficit as the Arizona education system is currently facing. Not to mention, the data we have now shows that voucher recipients fare worse on standardized tests than their peers. So I ask you, what can we do to fight this? Next, something we are for instead of against. We are fervently for increased protections for classified staff. We understand that classified staff regrettably fall outside of PECA and are not included in the provisions of the MOU. So I'd like to ask you, what can we do to ensure that our classified colleagues have fair salaries, job security, and due process rights? Do they deserve these things? We at HCEA believe that they do. We are also for fair working conditions for all educators, as expressed in the Memorandum of Understanding. Let it just suffice to say that those rules are being followed more strictly in some locations than in others. I hate to end on a negative note, but I am going to finish off with some things that we are against. The weaponization and the demonization of public education and our students by those who simply want to watch the whole system burn. The facile letter grade system concocted by people who've never led a classroom ignores way too much of the work done to be remotely relevant. The system has been touted as a way for schools to work toward improvement, when in reality, it's just another way for privatizers to argue against failing public schools. I know that I can speak on behalf of every single educator in this room when I say we are not concerned in the slightest about what letter our school is assigned. What matters to us are the students sitting in the seats inside of our classrooms. We are concerned about how to provide the most rigorous and engaging education possible to the kids we see each and every day. We at HCEA agree that the proximity of the release of these grades to the introduction of voucher legislation is fishy at best. I'm sure we all remember this past summer when legislators played a high-stakes game of what if and toyed with the idea of foregoing federal education funds, potentially depriving our students of the protections and support due to them. While I would like to believe this issue has been put to bed, you never know. We're going to continue to keep our eye on it at HCEA. I'll finish with a question. What are we all doing to advance great public schools in Hamilton County, and what are we willing to do? Thank you.
Thank you. And that is all of our speakers.
I did just want to make a comment. I want to say thank you for continuing your teaching journey with us from Teach for America. So that's great to hear. Thank you.
Chairman, there's teachers are ready. Yeah.
Okay, this would be a good place to stop now. Okay, so we'll take just a time out. We'll be right back.
Oh, yay. That's what I got. Did you get? Really? Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's not good.
would be if someone would ignore the documents that the board votes on tonight, and that FFE is asking.
I keep going extra kids. Teachers will want to play.
Drink coffee.
We need to start that movement.
Sherry, is there any coffee back there?
This Coke.
Hey,
As long as the wind's not blowing, I can handle it. Wow. When that wind blows, it's brutal.
I know it's been a busy day. I wasn't expecting an answer, but I just wanted to know, you know, kind of, you know. So y'all will definitely go to, is that correct?
That's what's supposed to
So is there like a new proposal, or is it gonna be the one from last time? Oh, was there something else I left there?
Based on the board member feedback.
But what does that mean? But is a proposal to put all the schools on the new? I mean, that is.
So I just found out that Jim Lee,
I mean, like $5.
New Earth.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just,
That means that
I was thinking.
So I'm not sure I
they
understand.
take literally
You know, it's not.
heaven and earth,
I mean,
everything
it is
was
about
created in
migrating
6
too,
days.
that one of them will be done, but it's
In
about.
one day,
Still interact with the community.
all the foundations of the earth was laid in 1 year.
Well, you know
One
what?
day.
If God could do it, he always could do it in 5 seconds if he
Yeah,
wanted
but
to.
that's not what the Bible says.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, 6 days.
The Bible says, I'm a gap there. The Bible says, in the beginning, God created heavens and the earth. It isn't until the next verse that he says, on day 1. So there's a gap there.
Well,
So Big Jim and his.
I'm just hoping God's gonna show it all to us on surround sound when we get to
Yeah, I'm
heaven.
pretty sure.
I would
Pretty
love
sure
to see it.
that's
I
gonna
wanna see the flood too. I would love to see the flood happen. I would love to see that.
Do you know, I was doing research one time. You want to land or no? There have been 2 languages that
had the heat up first. Oh, we did?
have
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was already made.
Yes.
in
Oh, no.
I've read that, right, that they have, some kind of etchings on the wall or some kind of etching.
Okay,
Yeah, you're right. I've
thank
read that
you.
before. Yes.
Sorry for the interruption, but obviously an exciting night getting to celebrate Teachers of the Year. Before we do that, Chairman, if we could, I want to make sure we recognize several people that helped make this happen. First of all, Chris Barclay with the HCS Foundation has been instrumental in putting this together, working with Valor Automotive Group to make sure we could make this a reality, and also his work to pay the insurance premium for the year lease through the entirety of the lease. So I want to give her an opportunity to say something.
I just want to say it's always an honor to support our teachers. The Hamilton County Schools Foundation at the Teacher Supply Hub often says that students need to be ready on day 1, and so do teachers.
Appreciate the foundation and leadership there. So last spring, Brad Cobb came to me after an event and was like, man, I remember years ago when we used to give cars, a year lease to teachers, and we stopped doing that. Really want to bring it out. I kind of didn't know if he was kidding or not, and obviously he wasn't kidding. So excited to welcome Brad Cobb with Bowers Automotive Group. Also, we have with us Chris Harris from Honda Cleveland, if you would come up. Shannon Harris with Village Volkswagen, and Taft Butcher with Kia of Chattanooga, who have donated the car. So welcome them up. And then
Thank you so much. Yeah, I was at a Rotary meeting and heard Superintendent talk, and it just made me remember and think about how important teachers are. And I thought, they deserve so much recognition and get so little. And it's a small way for us and our team to recognize them. And our goal is to help you all, help the Hamilton County school system get the program more excitement. And if a teacher knows they might get a possibility to get a new car and a bunch of swag from local businesses, maybe that'll get them to apply. So we just wanted to give a little bit back to the teachers who are so wonderful and educate our kids. So thank you so much for your leadership.
Thank you.
And of course, a familiar face, you guys, David Sikowski with the credit union, Chattanooga Area Schools Federal Credit Union. David is always a huge supporter of not just Hamilton County in general, but specifically teachers. I can't tell you how much he does day to day throughout the year to support teachers, and people don't even know about it. For years, I only got to see it one time when I was in the school, the holiday gift money, or maybe it was spring break gift money, but every once in a while he'll give back to the members of the credit union on going into a break or going into something exciting. And so he's always been committed to Hamilton County schools and specifically our teachers. So appreciate David and the credit union. David, love to hear you say something.
Sure, thank you. I appreciate that. What he's talking about is our Christmas cash and beach bucks. So some of you may have already won that. It's really fun, and we get to go into the schools and interrupt the day. And the principal, I think Justin was a principal at that time. We get to interrupt their day, and they're something else that's going on in their day. But then when you tell them, hey, I'm here to give away $500 to a teacher, boy, that really perks them up, and they really like that. So, we partner with Hamilton County Schools. We like to consider our partnership a great relationship between the two organizations. In fact, we've got some additional prizes for these teachers. Do we want to go ahead and give them to us now?
Well,
okay.
Just say what it is.
Yeah, so each one of these teachers, since they've been named Teacher of the Year, we're going to give each one of them $500 today for being named Teacher of the Year. And fortunately, from our standpoint, I think all three of these individuals are members of our credit union as well. So that's always an added plus. So I've got some money here for them. Are you just going to?
Yeah, they were going to come up.
Okay, I'll just give it to them. But thank you all for allowing us to be here. We always appreciate working with the school system and the teachers. That's what we're about, is supporting employees of school systems. We appreciate the opportunity to be here with you and present this money to these deserving individuals. So thank you.
Thank you, David.
We talk a lot about every employee valued in Hamilton County schools, and it's really important, I think, that we as a board, or you as a board, and us as an administration continue to elevate the profession of educators. And I can't think of a better way than to celebrate some of our most accomplished and successful teachers. And so we're excited to be here with you tonight. I'm going to go ahead and what we're going to do is bring up principals, because what I believe is that we need to hear from a personal, like not from me, but from their principal, about why these people are such great educators and what they do for kids. So we'll invite them to come up. Unfortunately, our 9 through 12 Teacher of the Year, Olivia Kane, was unable to make it with us tonight, but she's with the STEM school, and Jim David is here with us. Jim, if you don't mind coming up. But she is a biology and chemistry teacher at the STEM school, and will be representing us in the 9 through 12 category in the state of Tennessee. Jim, say a few words.
Hello. So I wrote a few things, so I get to go first. So here we go. I'd love to say I'd like to introduce you to Olivia, but they had ice in the neighborhood, so she's not here. She serves as on our school leadership team. She's our climbing coach, and she works on our school's diversity committee. Ms. Kane is a wonderful chemistry teacher. She allows her students to conduct their own research, pose their own scientific problems, and actually come up with solutions that are not canned solutions like you'd find in a textbook. Every year, she works with the Hunter Art Museum, helping students remake art pieces and actually looking at the chemical elements that go into an art piece. She works with the Creative Discovery Museum and helps our students create lesson plans that they actually perform and actually do in front of elementary students all over Hamilton County. And currently she's working with Blue Sky, which is with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and helping students code video games that actually help teach stoichiometry. But actually above all those things, that actually makes Miss Kane amazing. She's warm, she's accessible, she's enthusiastic, and she's caring, which really, to me, is the definition of a teacher. So I'm very proud that she comes from my school, and I'm proud, and I wish she was here so I could say all those things to her, but maybe she'll see it on the YouTube. Thank you.
Thanks, David. We'll make sure that Mr. David doesn't keep the $500 for himself and that he gets it to them. But appreciate him being here, and thankful for Olivia. Olivia also serves on the teacher cabinet for the superintendent's office and lends her voice to that leadership team and does an amazing job there as well. In our K through 4 category from East Side Elementary, I'll invite Greg Wilkie up here to introduce Catherine Castleman, who's a 4th grade teacher at East Side Elementary. Really neat story. I just learned this as we were walking outside, but I believe that Ms. Castleman was your very first hire as the principal at East Side Elementary, so pretty neat to see that. So Greg, if you don't mind.
Thank you all. Yeah, you know, as a principal, one of the most important jobs we have is to hire good teachers to put in front of children. And Ms. Castleman was there as a year-long resident for Project Inspire. She was coming teaching, you know, as a second career. I knew early on that she was incredible. I saw it from the very beginning, but I wasn't principal yet. I became principal mid-year. So the minute I was named principal, I went to her and I said, do not take a job anywhere else. I will make sure you have a job here at Eastside. Of course, she kind of laughed because she was nervous. She wanted to get employed, and she was already hearing other schools were approaching her because word got out fast. And since then, she has just continued to shine. She was 1st grade, 2nd grade team leader the minute she became 2nd grade teacher. This year, she's doing 4th grade math, departmentalized. She's rocking it. Kids are engaged. Her classroom is pure magic. When you walk into her room, it is never a dull moment. Kids are doing activities, hands-on, room transformations, games. She's very approachable, enthusiastic. She's our lead mentor. She works with all of our new teachers because I trust her 100% to show them strong, positive teaching practices. Kids love her, parents love her, never a complaint once from any parent since the time she's been in Eastside. So when I look back at that first hire, she is now the standard for what I look for. And as long as I'm on Eastside, she's got to stay with me. She's incredible, and I've already told her that if I don't leave, she can't leave. So she's one of my main, the backbone of what we do at Eastside. So she's incredible. We always say at Eastside's the best side, and people like Eastside, people like Miss Castleman are why we're the best side. So Catherine Castleman, come on up. Miss Black, if you don't mind. Miss Black, do you want to come up and welcome her? And in our 5 through 8 category from Normal Park, and I'll ask Dr. Jamili Johns, to come up and help us welcome Maddie Hardy, but she will represent us across this county for the middle grades category, which is grades 5 through 8, and she is a career and technical education teacher at Normal Park. Dr. Johns?
Thank you. So I have the pleasure of working with Maddie Hardy at Normal Park. I've known her now for 3 years. I inherited her at Normal Park, and I'm so glad that I had the chance to work with her. She's kind, passionate, she's creative and motivated. She's always eager to learn more and eager to do what's best for her kids. In the classroom, I use the word magical as well to describe her. The kids are engaged, they're excited about what they're doing, and she gives them the opportunity to really explore the science concepts that she's worked with as a science teacher. This year, as a career pathways teacher, she has really worked with her colleagues to ensure that PBLs are happening in the classroom and really working on different projects to make sure that students are engaged with learning about career pathways as well. She's a leader not only in our own school, but across the state of Tennessee. She has helped to achieve STEM designation in our own school and is a model teacher for the STEM cohort across the state of Tennessee. She's been highlighted in innovation videos across the state, and she's also was recently awarded a Fund for Teachers grant. She really works to make sure that our science concepts are happening across the world, are really being brought to the classroom. So she traveled to Europe this last year to learn about sustainable agriculture and to bring gardening to our school. At our school, we have teachers vote on the Teacher of the Year, and so this is a really special award because her colleagues recognize that in her. They said that she has been a teacher who goes above and beyond for her students every single day. She sets the high expectations for students, and she also lets them know they matter every single day, and so knowing that every kid matters in her classroom is important. She's always willing to help out colleagues who need help. She works with our students athletically as well as academically. She's an amazing teacher and a coworker. So as a principal, I'm very lucky every day to have the chance to work with her. I know she goes above and beyond to make learning fun, and I know that she has fresh ideas that will continue to make our school the best it can be. And so I'm thrilled to have her as our Teacher of the Year this year.
Again, Chairman, before we turn it back over to the board for this agenda session, just want to say thank you to Brad and Chris, Shannon, and Tad for the generous donation of the cars, for David, his continued support through the credit union, and then to Krista for helping organize this and then financially supporting it through the foundation. Turn it back over to you.
Okay, so, yes, go ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
I hate that they're getting out of here, but I can't get enough of that. This job, I'm a 26-year educator. It's harder now than it's ever been, and we need more of that. We need more of our local businesses, not just partnering on a macro scale, but a micro scale, reaching into schools. And I also want to thank Krista Barclay. She does a phenomenal job leading that foundation, and it should be expected because, I mean, she's a District 7 resident, so.
Amen. Okay. So that takes us down, I think, to committee chair updates. I believe that's where we left off. Mr. Marco?
So all of you, as the board, should have received a budget process timeline. Just a couple things to highlight there that I want to make sure we note. So one of the things we're waiting on is revenue projections from the state and from our local county. We expect those sometime in February, and that's why you have a TBD. When we're going to announce our first finance committee meeting after we receive those projections. That one's just to allow the team to share with us what's expected, kind of what the purpose or vision of the budget is this year. There's not any big change that we're looking to how we're strategizing the budget. It's just going to be a bit more of the continuation of the work we're doing. We will hold one more budget workshop after that in March. Last year, as we had a new strategic plan, new vision, new ideas, we did a lot more than that. But this year we'll hold it to 2. There will be community outreach meetings. All of that will be described in a way that the team feels is effective. And then our goal, and again, that's not always been the case, but our goal will be to vote for the budget by April, and then hopefully have the county commission approve it by May. So anyways, just give you that update. We are going to start our meetings in February at some point. One in February, one in March, community meetings in between, and then ideally a budget vote by April of this year. So thank you. Anything else? Any other comment?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Perez. Policy?
We will meet again here soon, but as was mentioned at our policy committee meeting last week, hopefully the policies will be fewer and farther between because we've covered everything here over the last, what's the time frame, Shannon? You said year. That doesn't seem like in a year we've got. So anyway, but you'll.
It's so quick to go over those policies. It feels like it's just yesterday. Right?
Yep.
And the day
So
before, the day
anyway, I
before.
mean, we'll before our February meeting, we'll be looking at those that are coming up for next month. So you'll get something hopefully from Mrs. Ford here in the next week or so. Oh well, maybe not. Maybe you'll just get the policy then. We won't have to meet. So. Yep.
Okay. Mrs. Jones is traveling. She's going to join us for the board meeting, but I think she's maybe wheels up right now, but she's going to join us shortly. Legislative?
The legislation was out of session this whole week, just like schools were. So there will be a flurry of things going on next week. Look for a major update in our next meeting.
Okay. Anything else there? Okay, let's take a look at our agenda for tonight. I trust that you have that in front of you. Our first 5 items there are as always. And then under our consent agenda, anything in particular there anybody wants to pull up and talk about? Ms. Rhonda?
Just have one that kind of, and I think California is still in the United States, so, but, what are we doing in California? Why is it, I mean, that's just seems to be a little crazy. I'm sorry, that's under field trips, C, Rock Point, it's Red Bank School is, I mean, it just kind of caught my eye. I think, I don't know that we've ever approved one that far away, maybe so, I don't know. I just wonder what was going on there that didn't go on somewhere else, maybe a little closer. I'm just getting real antsy about so many of our kids going so far away from home.
The sermon, it's the AV program, and actually it's a competition, and we probably haven't approved it in the last few years just because of the conditions, but like this, they actually were doing this when I was the principal at Red Bank, so it's been something they've done consistently in the past. It's a national competition.
You just have to be in California this time, is this what you're saying?
It's
Is it
almost
always in
in California because obviously like Hollywood and, you know, the AV production studios and things like that, so.
Okay. Okay, all right, thank you. I just wondered why California, if there wasn't something else. Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else there? Bids and contracts, anything there? Financial reports? And under budget amendments, anything there?
Just a quick question for clarification.
Go ahead, Ms. Robinson.
Okay. The budget amendment, does that correlate with our commission agenda session for the budget true-up in later January? Okay.
Okay. Under federal grants, state grants, self-funded, anything there? And general operating amendments? And then we've got some second and final read policies here. I think there's 4 of them. Anything there that anybody wants to to discuss?
I think we discussed most of those at the policy meeting.
We did?
I can't remember anything that we had any questions about. There wasn't, I don't think there was.
Okay, very good. Okay, under administrative matters, 24-25 calendar adjustment for review. Now, we're not going to vote on this tonight, but we do need to talk about it. Shannon, come on up here, and I won't let anybody throw eggs at you. But do we have?
Chairman, can I go ahead and say before she even says anything,
Absolutely.
this is a first read, not asking you to vote,
That's
putting it in
right.
front of you to consider.
Next month, right?
Yes.
Correct. We're asking for a vote in February if you're okay.
And it could not be worse timing. You'll hear in a second.
So we're looking at the calendar for 24-25, not this current school year, next year. And we are presenting you an option where we can use an additional 2 stockpile days out of our reserve. We would use 7, it would leave us 6 total stockpile days, plus the 2 virtual learning days that happen or allowed each semester. Now with the new law, I think it's 49-630-04. I don't know, don't quote me on that one. But they do have a new law that says you can use 2 virtual days each semester. So we're presenting to you to use 2 additional stockpile days, split them up among 4 half days. What this would allow for us is actually to allow either a full or half day every calendar month during the school year for teacher planning. And so it allows us to have that release of every single month, with the half day also being before Christmas and before the end of the year at the end of each semester. So those days, if you need them on here, the additional days that are different from the current already approved calendar are August 28th, November 13th, April 9th, and May 22nd, which is the last day of school. So we would be using 2 stockpile days to split into those 4 half days.
So can I add a couple context here? We've heard a lot of feedback. The last, I think, 2 calendars where we've done a full day, the last day of the semester and the last day of the year. Attendance is, it kills our attendance. And so we've gotten feedback from families, from a lot of people about turning those back into half days. So it's really an adjustment of a couple of half days that are spread out between the calendar, and this goes on to conversations we've had with the superintendent's teachers cabinet, conversations that we had during collaborative conferencing last year of, especially at the elementary grades, the need for more planning time for teachers. These days would be, unobstructed, no PD. It would be their planning time at their discretion. And again, we're not voting tonight.
Okay, Mr. Perez.
So I want you to repeat loudly that last sentence you said, because I do know that at times those planning days end up being taken up, and teachers are excited about their planning days, and then they don't have their planning days because now there's meetings taking advantage of the fact that there's a planning day.
And we acknowledge that, and we work with Jeanette and HCA all the time, because it seems no matter how we do it, there's always a situation where it doesn't get handled that way. But the intent and the way it will be communicated is that these are unplanned, no PD, teacher discretion planning times.
Ms. Robinson.
Okay, repeat for me, how many stockpile days did you say we would still have if we do that? Did you say 6?
6.
Okay. I'm going to bring up the virtual days that you mentioned. So just curious, why haven't we maybe used a virtual day this week?
Yeah, super good question. I had this from a couple of people. So, one, it takes a lot to put a virtual day together, and we haven't done it in a couple of years. It's an unpredictable week. It's been really frustrating for us as an administration. It's been frustrating for families, frustrating for you as a board, I know. And so obviously, had we known, we would have spent more time planning. What we talked about in our senior leadership team together is putting back our guidance documents around those virtual days, so that if we run into this again, that we would be able to do it. Reminder to the board is that we are 1-to-1 in 6 through 8, but if you remember going back to specifically the spring of 2020, we were having to set up pickup spaces for devices for our elementary students as well. So we would have to think about this differently than we did in 2020. But short answer is we're confident we can use those effectively. We just didn't plan for them this week.
So virtual days, are they meant to be used for emergencies? Because we don't have virtual days built into our calendar, correct?
Yes.
Or are they meant to be used as just regular calendar days? Okay, just emergency. Okay. I guess my only other question is, when are we going to be looking at the 2025-2026 calendar?
Soon.
Oh, I mean, I'm not excited about it. I'm just
That'd be
curious.
crazy.
Yeah, I don't want to. I'm just curious.
I think
Okay.
usually that's April. If
I mean, you could wait until probably like September if you want. I mean, because what does it matter at that point? So.
Okay. Ms. Thurman?
Yeah, Justin, wasn't there a state law about half-days or something that we talked about? What is that, what is the state law about using half-days? I personally hate half-days because the teachers say there's no need in coming, so then they get the whole day.
Yeah.
So I have a huge problem with that.
We checked with TDOE on this just to make sure, since it's something we haven't done before. There is no restriction on being able to use half-days this way. In fact, I think this is actually how some districts do like early release days with what they use out of their stockpile days. There is a rule in coding that says you're only allowed to code 3 half-days that aren't stockpile days, right? So we do have an additional 3 half-days that we're allowed to do without using stockpile days to do the other half-days, I think is what you're referring to.
Yeah, I just know that the state passed something a few years ago. Didn't they pass some kind of
Scott, I'm not
law or
aware of
something?
anything outside of
That, that may be what I'm referring to. Do you remember anything about that? No?
I think it's what she said about the 3 days.
3 days, maybe that's what it was.
So the 3 days we don't have to use stockpile days for. Anything above those 3 half-days, we have to use a stockpile day, but we can split it up among multiple days. It doesn't have to be a full day.
So you couldn't just add an extra half day. But
Correct.
As long as it's a stockpile day.
Correct.
Okay. I just remember something about that. Okay. I just hate half-days. It's just so hard on parents. And like I say, and so many schools say, we're just going to have a half-day tomorrow. There's no need in coming. And so they don't come, so they get the whole day. So I have a huge problem with that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. King?
Yeah. So Shannon, just to make sure that's okay, you can answer it from there. We have 6 for next year, 6 stockpile days plus 2 virtual days. So we really.
Per semester, actually. So currently, in the calendar you currently approved, we have 8 stockpile days plus 2 virtual days each semester that we're allowed for like a weather or an emergency event, right? This would have us having 6 stockpile days and 2 each semester.
So just on a personal note, we got to have good weather next week because I've been babysitting all week a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 1-year-old, and I'm not cut out for it anymore.
Are you tired, Gary?
I'm worn out. Yes.
10 days. I think Mr. Connor's been doing the same thing. Ms. Black?
I heard that you say that like the virtual days take a lot of coordination, but they're supposed to be used on emergency. I'm just wondering like how we envision that working out.
Well, there's
in the
I mean,
future.
there's coordination. There's things we can do on the front end to get people prepared that you can flip the switch and go. We weren't prepared on the front end. I mean, obviously, like I would never have expected where we are today last week, and so we just weren't prepared to flip the switch. But once we get guidance together and can put it out and have people ready, we have the platform Canvas to do it, right? And so we would be ready then, and then elementary we would have to communicate around how to use that, whether it's through home devices or paper and pencil stuff. But we can be ready to flip the switch when we need to in advance. We just weren't.
So this is mid-January, so I don't know what the groundhog says, but we may have some more weather. So you can make that happen pretty quickly then. I mean, if we was to have another
Yes,
event
sir.
in a week or 2.
Yes, sir. And we'll have 3 days left. If you look across the state, I mean, there are past examples. I mean, this is not Nashville got hit way worse than we did, right? And so, especially when you see events that happen statewide or catastrophic events, there is a waiver process, and we've done this. We haven't done it in a long time. I think it may have been like 2012 or 13 the last time we did it, but we used all of our stockpile days, asked for a waiver for a couple, and it was granted by the state. So we have that ability, and considering the wide impact that this weather event has created, that would be an option too, to apply for a waiver. But we do have 3 left. We'll be ready for 2 virtual days, so, you know, should be in good shape.
Okay. Mr. Connor?
So I'm sorry, I'm looking at the calendar. Are the virtual days listed, or they're just the also ran kind of?
Virtual days are just allowable in state law.
Okay.
So we don't plan for them in any way, but we are allowed to should we need them.
Okay. And okay, we're not planning for any of them in there.
Correct.
And the next question is, so I know we talked about we're 1-to-1 in the higher grades. What is our plan for the elementary students? Are we going to send home Chromebooks like with the kindergartners too? Or?
That's what I'm talking about. We need to get guidance around that and how to do it.
Okay.
And so that's, again, where we just weren't ready to do it.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Shannon. Okay, then we've got a first read there, personal health examinations. Any questions about that? It's a first read tonight. We won't be voting. Okay, it takes us down to our school facilities plan. And I think everybody should have a copy of the final recommendations for years 1 through 3 there in front of you.
First, the Red Bank High School. Gym teach.
Chairman, can you want me to provide anything on this before?
What were you saying?
The HVAC.
We hadn't got there yet.
Oh, I thought we got there.
Okay. Okay. Yes, please do.
So, couple things here. We sent the survey out, got you guys the results back. This is a familiar format of what you've seen. Put the order here of how they came. To clarify, 2 and 3 are tied. Why did we put it's alphabetical order there? But you've got 1, 2, and 3 tied, and then down from there. You should have the numbers in the email from Shannon around how those survey results turned out. If you flip the pages, again, a little bit more detail on each of the projects, including the original proposal, what we've heard from community, what we've heard from you, and then the final proposal. And then the final document is the 1-pager on the Gateway project. That obviously is the biggest shift in past practice on this, and so we provided more guidance around what that would look like, along with the Q&A on the back of it. So what is presented to you is the final recommendation, the order that the board voted on the survey and put it together. What we're asking for is approval of this so that we can take it to the county commission as the funding body.
Okay. Ms. Sherry, is there any way you could put that slide up here for our guests to see? Is that possible? Yeah, yes. Is that possible for you to put that so everybody could see that? May not be, but it would be. I know that some people are interested in seeing that if you can do it.
Joe, hold on just a minute.
I just looked here. There's a little bit of a typo on the second page. I'm not sure why that ended up there. That floodplain and the 800 students on SADI on the final recommendation is not accurate, but it is accurately reflected on this.
You talking about the Study Daisy Middle?
Yes, ma'am.
I started to say, what in the world? Okay.
Just a typo.
Because I was really about to stand up on this lectern and start screaming. Seriously. I was ready to absolutely start hitting people and throwing things if this was true. If this was done to me twice.
Ma'am, what do you mean?
Yeah, this right here, it says renovate Study Daisy High School into 6 through 12 side on the
No,
second
it's a typo. The one on the front is
That's
what
a
this is
football.
what we're
That's not a
asking you to.
typo.
This is what we're asking you to vote on. Is what's here on the front.
Okay. Because the second page is totally wrong.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions, discussion?
I've got a quick question. So we've got the phase out of Howard Connect on the bottom of this. But I just want to make sure I understand, what is the path for Howard Connect? Is it that Howard Connect no longer exists, or does it now become part of Gateway? Like, I just want, because it's not.
It's
super
phasing it out. And so it's saying that we would phase that out, which would allow us to use that side of the building to address the overcrowding issues at Howard. The justification of it is that with the Gateway project, there would be as many seats available in that downtown area, and that's something that conversations could be had with the board later about how that works. But I want to be clear, because we've run into this in the past in other situations where we weren't clear about the path. What I want to be clear here is the vote to phase out is to phase out Howard Connect.
Okay, so it says begin phased out closure of Howard Connect by not accepting any incoming sixth grade class in the fall of 2024. So what happens to 2024 seventh and eighth graders?
Yeah,
Obviously,
so
eighth graders move on to high school.
Correct,
maybe
and so it's
Howard.
allowing them to finish the pathway that they
At
signed
Howard
up for.
Connect.
So when they signed up at Howard Connect, it's a 6 through 8 pathway. We want to make sure that we work with those families and students, allow them to finish the pathway that we granted them.
Okay, so then the magnet options basically disappear in 2024. So like if I'm a student at Battle and I wanted to exercise the option I've had for the last few years to go to Howard, like that doesn't exist anymore.
Correct.
I now have to either go to my zone school or find an alternative path, like to either a magnet or whatever
Sure.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Gotcha.
again, since Howard Connect is open, we've opened, the opening of CSLA opened more seats at CSAS because we don't have the agreement with the high school pathway. And so there are more options than there were, 5 years ago when Howard Connect opened. And with the Gateway, it'll provide even more options.
Okay, so then as a parent, let's say I've got a third grader at Battle or Eastside, like any of the schools that like funnel over to Howard Connect. How do I think about what the options are for my kid as they graduate out of fifth grade? If I wanted to, like, what if I was excited about Howard Connect? Like, so what do I need to be thinking about for the future when it comes to, I guess, Gateway? I think that's what I'm trying to understand is like, okay, so if this isn't an option for a few years, how do we talk to parents about what their future options
I
can
think
be?
what we talk about are all the choice options that we've had. This board's been really intentional about creating multiple options for families through choice, whether it's a magnet school, whether it's the open enrollment options for kids. So we have a lot of options, and I think Mr. Bowles and School Choice have been doing a great job of advertising that for families, and we're going to continue to do that and make sure there are more options. We've committed to increasing those seats, and we have done that, whether that's through open enrollment or increased magnet seats. We have more options and choice than we've ever had before in Hamilton County.
So what we did to, okay, I just want to make sure I understand, like with Gateway, is the plan that the way that we structured like seats for specific schools in the downtown area, will they now have those same seat, like kind of weighted seats at Gateway, or do we not know that yet?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up. That's something that the board can consider and look at. So what you're talking about is like at STEM, for example, there are weighted seats, right? And you can look at that. I think that's something that we'll consider as we move forward. I think it's maybe even something when you think about the development around the Bend and different businesses and what those pathways look like. How do we continue to serve that community, in a positive way? And so that's not the decision you're making tonight.
Right. Yeah, I recognize
that's something that
that.
That we can make as we go forward.
Okay. I mean, I do just want to kind of point out, like, we worked really hard when opening Howard Connect to be really intentional on how the seat structure works so that the students around Howard had kind of like first access, and we were being very intentional also the diversity of those seats. So I won't be here whenever you guys make that decision, I'm sure, at that point, but I hope that the school system will carry that important flag forward. So cool. Thank you.
Ms. Thurman.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't turn my light off.
Okay. Mr. Perez.
So I want to address kind of just shortly the issue at Red Bank, kind of more with a request. We still have a ways to go before we break ground on new land, new property. I personally feel this is the option we have right now. But before, now it's got to go to the commission's got to debate these things and vote whether they're going to give us the money to move forward. I'm hopeful that if any better option shows up between now and before we break ground, that at that point that can be brought before the board again and say, hey, this is an option that's now available that wasn't available. But in the meantime, as we vote, I don't know how the board will vote, but I am fully cognizant that we've gone through a very long process and this is the option we have. But hey, no one ever knows what's going to come up at some point. So I hope we're conscious of that, not we're reactive or we're moving forward, but we do what's best at the time. So.
Okay, Mr. Connor.
Thank you, Marco. That is a perfect segue to what I was going to say as well. Agreed on all points that if there's something else that could come available, because whereas Rhonda's typo was visceral, mine is kind of Freudian. At the final recommendation, it says to build a new elementary school in Red Bank. So just if that comes available, if there's something else that pops up I would love for anything to always be on the table if there's something that's better. But I recognize that we have talked through many, many, many options, and I recognize that this board has deliberated, and I recognize that that we have this in front of us that we have to vote on tonight. And at the end of the day, this will put the children of District 6 into a brand new school, which is a good thing. It is a good thing, but it services making sure that the holes in the roof at Rivermont and the crumbling nature of the building around them, it services the children that can't go to Alpine Crest because of all the stairs and other complications there. It gives the students a new school, a new place to go to school. And although we have tried many, many, many things, this is what's in front of us. But I do want to say clarification. You said that this sheet, the first sheet, is what we were voting on.
Yep.
But I want to make sure that we recognize that there is also this sheet at the end that was put forth by the school system about CCA and what would happen if CCA is moved to the Gateway building that we're voting on tonight. And I want to make sure that this is part of this.
Yeah.
So where the typos can go over here, this is still part of the vote.
Yeah,
So
and I
wanna
think
make
that the only
clear.
one of Gateway that refers to another document is Gateway and says that one pager. And if you recall, just for board, there was just a request for added clarification about what that would look like from the community, from parents, from several of you. And so we put that document together just to be very clear. It's not 100% detailed. It's a overarching view of what we envision happening at Gateway. But just to address some concerns specific to, the large one, I think, is facilities for the Center for Creative Arts, making sure that we're providing the dance studios, recording studios, and the things like that they need to continue the excellent programs they have.
I completely agree, but I would put one thing ahead of that, and that's just the culture of CCA, making sure that a school that is in the top 14 school in the state of Tennessee that produces so great of ACT scores and so many other wonderful things, that any move recognizes that first, embraces it, and continues it.
Okay.
Joe?
Ms. Thurman?
Oh, yeah, I started saying, I turned my light off and then turned it back on. Okay, right here, it says if appropriate, renovate existing space and build additional new space similar to CSLA. Okay, that's all, that may all be great and fine, but I just don't really like stuff like this being put in front of me without me seeing it first. I mean, this was kind of to renovate existing, and that's fine. I just want to know at what point will this be discussed, and when the discussion is had, will I be involved in this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You and I spoke about, we
Yeah.
talked about specifically, like, I think you and I mentioned the gym, for example.
Right.
Is there ability to
the
save
gym,
some of that
save the
space? So
gym,
that
right.
that is recognizing this so that
Okay.
everybody that's voting on it recognizes that that is an option.
Okay.
You remember part of the process. I mean, once this is so we can take it to the
Okay.
county commission, they can approve it,
Okay.
but eventually you're going to have to vote on architects.
Oh, yeah,
You're
I
gonna have to vote-
understand.
You see what I'm saying? And so what we're saying is I'm not an expert, and I don't know that any of us are, but we want people to come in and see. And if they say the best thing here is to save the gym, renovate it, it's a great use,
Yeah.
and then add on to the west side.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just worried about the disruption of the class of school time. That's my concern
Yep.
at this point. I mean, where will you put the kids while all this is going on? That's just what I needed to talk
Yes,
with
ma'am.
somebody. Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Black?
I had some questions about, and this might be to Scott. There were some questions on the CCA Zoom today, because our listening session was canceled on Tuesday, about adding some sort of provision to what we're voting on that says, because over and over and over again, CCA has been told that they're going to get a facility that's as good or better than what they have now. And there's a lot of mistrust. And like, if it's found that while building the new building that, or getting bids, that it is cost prohibitive to build or replicate an art school at Gateway, they don't want to move. And could we revisit and have that conversation again? Like, is there a way to put some sort of provision on there that says, you know, if it becomes cost prohibitive to replicate an art school, would we revisit it and keep CCA where they are instead of putting them in a facility that doesn't meet the standards that they currently have?
Ms. Black, if I
You're on. We hear you.
if I understand your question, I think you're asking me, does this board have the flexibility to change its mind based upon information that develops down the road? And the answer is obviously yes. This is a list of priorities, and if you vote to build a school, and if the commission votes to fund that construction, and if you build the school, it's a building. This board decides what program goes in what facility. So if at some point down the road you decide that property, which I think everyone agrees is going to be flagship property, would be better suited for some program that you have not yet envisioned, you're not bound by decisions that you necessarily made in the past. You're not limited. Your options are not limited. This board governs the school system. So if something arises down the road that's a better opportunity, as long as you understand you have a building and it's an asset, and out of the exercise of good stewardship, you need to use it, subject to that understanding, this board is the governing body of the school system. You have flexibility.
Okay. No other lights on? Thank all of you, board members, and Ms. Jones for her leadership. It's been a long process, and be excited to move forward. Welcome Commissioner Highlander here tonight. And I also see Deputy Mayor McClendon back there. Glad you guys were here, and appreciate your support so much. We're anxious to put a shovel in the ground, aren't we, Marco? Isn't that what you said? Okay.
You get a gold shovel.
Okay, moving on down to board matters. The HVAC for Red Bank. We're going to need to approve that tonight. Mr. Perez?
I actually have a question related, but a month ago, 2 months ago, I don't remember when, we voted for a facilities maintenance plan due to some of the changes to the budget that we presented to the board. Now we've got to take everything before the county commission. That's above the $2 million we have in our own maintenance. Did that get approved? Are we moving forward? How's that working?
County Commission didn't meet yesterday. It was on their agenda for a vote yesterday, but due to weather, they did not meet. So I don't see Dr. Highlander, Mr. McClendon. I don't know if did that get pushed to next week. Got pushed to next week.
And is this going to?
No, this is
Okay,
already.
So this we
yeah.
can cover. So thank you, all of you involved. This new system now creates an oversight, I get that, but also an inefficiency. And so I would ask that as the county commissioner who's here present, we review whether this is the best system on maintenance things. Something big may happen, and now we've got to wait for the right the board has to vote on it, you all have to then vote on it, and in that inefficiency, we may lose precious time. So anyways, that's a decision that was made by the commission. I respect the commission, but it does present the challenge like it does today, so thank you.
Okay, Mr. King?
So to get this clear, is this part of the 2 million we've already got in our budget, or is this part of the 6 million that we're waiting to use?
Already in budget.
All right, that's what I needed to know, thank you.
Sorry, clarification. CFO corrected me. It's part of our ARPA
million?
funding. Yeah, it's ARPA money that county commission sent to us. I don't know. 12
I was gonna
months
say,
ago.
because if it's part of the 2 million, we can go ahead and pass it and not wait, but.
Yeah, no, this is one that you can pass and not wait.
Okay.
Mr. Perez is referring to the other funds that we
Okay.
took
All right.
2 weeks ago to the county commission.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, then moving on down to our Fund for Excellence, just a MOA, but Howard Turf Field and Brainerd softball improvements. Go ahead, Mr. Perez.
So I'm conflicted on this one. I'm not legally conflicted or officially conflicted, I don't think. Because in full disclosure, one of my clients that I work with and I'm very public about is the Urban League of Greater Chattanooga. I work with their small businesses. And I know that this money was taken from them that had been allotted to then implement it toward this. I'm gonna abstain. I don't think legally I need to abstain, but I do, like, hey, I want everything for everyone. I do think, as some of the commissioners mentioned, this was poor government, the way that it was passed. It was harmful to organizations in our community that count on money that they have been told they will receive to activate and do the work that they're gonna do. I have heard from people at the Howard School saying, we were never asking for a football field, and they're gonna get one as priority. They had other priorities. It's not that they don't want the funds, it's that they had other priorities. This wasn't the top of their list. I don't want to be accused of a conflict of interest, so I choose to abstain rather than voting no. I don't think I'm actually legally conflicted, but I'll do that anyways, so I just want to point that out.
Okay. No other lights there? Okay. And we got a lease agreement for the Head Start. Dr. Robertson, just remind us again where those locations are, if you would.
Yeah, it's Avondale, Cedar Hill, Daisy, and I would defer to Mr. Bennett. He said this is no change from previous. So, Mr. Bennett, I don't know if you'd add anything to that.
No, that's exactly right. Same agreements we've had with the city of Chattanooga now for at least 4 years. We're just renewing this arrangement for another year with 3 built-in renewals.
Okay, very good. Item C there, discussion about the Howard Graduate School of Education. Harvard, excuse me. Had Howard on my mind. We're going to delete that for tonight and be brought up at another time. So as we approve the agenda here in a few minutes, please help me to remember that we're going to delete that for tonight. Okay, anything else anybody wants to discuss? And we'll take about a 5-10 minute break and end our agenda session and come back for our regularly scheduled meeting. Thank you.